Just one thing I'll say to Shamakrishna Prabhu while I remember. In the Mangalati this morning, you're playing click, 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 very little sound with the cartels. But then later, as the beat picks up and the sound picks up, then you have to play more strongly. It has to be, the rhythm, the tempo, has to be in line. It doesn't fit if the mridanga is playing strongly and the cartel is still going very slight with very slight sound. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurin Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Shreshtham Manamapi Shati Putramatra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Urupuring Mathurim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Ataf Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shurasya dhara nishita durataya durgang patastat kavayo vadanti. This statement in the Upanishads means that be careful with a blade. If you're handling a blade, be careful, because it can cut. It's meant to cut. It's designed to cut for a purpose. The purpose is for shaving the hairs on the head and the body. Sorry, the hairs on the head and the face. But you can also cut your fingers or any other part of the body. So this is a warning in spiritual life also. We have to be very careful. I was just thinking this the other day when I was handling a razor blade, one of the older types that we use, what they call at the time a safety razor. We use that for shaving our heads. So just handling that, and just I thought, it's a funny thing if you think about it. Sometimes you think, I thought, well, I've handled blades so many times before and I didn't get cut, but I thought it much quicker than I could say the words. That thought flashed through them. And then again I thought, well, that's how you get cut. By thinking, well, I don't have to be so careful, because the blades in general don't get less sharp because you handle them many times. And it's that kind of thinking which leads to getting cut. How do you get cut? Well, apart from someone deliberately inflicting violence on you, you can get cut accidentally, either if if you don't know well enough to be careful, or if you do know and anyway you're not careful, which may come when you think, well, I handled blades so many times, I didn't get cut, I won't get cut. Still, you have to be careful. Srila Prabhupada often gave the example that fire will burn an elderly man who's very well aware of the dangers of fire. It'll burn a little child also who doesn't know. It's not because the child doesn't know, he doesn't get burned. The laws of nature work. Or one may think, well, this often happens when I'm putting the seatbelt, and I tell others too also, and they say, I've been driving for years, I never had an accident. Well, every day there are hundreds and thousands of people who've been driving for years who never had an accident, who have an accident on that day. No one ever goes out of the house in the morning, gets in their car and thinks, today I'll have an accident. But daily, so many people have accidents. So the warning is there, be careful. And we hear this example again and again because we have to be very careful. We may think, well, a barber, he's an expert. He doesn't get cut. He may get cut also because he may become inattentive. That Sundar Nrsimha, he's there in Salem. He's an electrician by profession, does great service, especially when we have festivals, for rigging up all the electrical connections and everything. So I asked him, do you often get shocks? He said, yeah, all the time. He's learned to live with that. But I'm sure he's careful enough that he doesn't get a fatal shock. You don't often hear of electricians being electrocuted. It's usually other people who get electrocuted. If you're an electrician, you're in the business of getting electric shocks. But they know well enough not to... they know well enough how to deal with electricity so they don't get any serious shocks. So we're in spiritual life and there will be some shocks, there will be some mistakes. Whatever we do, there's going to be, whatever endeavor we take up, there'll be some kind of fault. Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita. What is that? Savaramba hidoshena sadoshamapi natyajet. In every undertaking, aramba can well be translated as undertaking, something that we begin. In every undertaking, there will be some fault. But on that grounds, we shouldn't not attempt to do anything. So in spiritual life also, we can't expect to be perfect in the very beginning. At the same time, we had to be careful not to make major faults, not to offend Vaishnavas, not to break the regulative principles, not to fail to chant our rounds. We may think, well, that's just very ordinary things. It doesn't matter if sometimes I don't properly follow. Well, it might not matter to the electrician. Sometimes he gets a little shock here and there. But same time, we should know it's dangerous. Especially we're dealing with Vaishnavas, we're dealing with Krishna. We shouldn't become complacent and think that now I don't have to be careful. I handled the blade so many times, I didn't get cut. But anytime, actually, many years ago, I remember now, it wasn't a razor blade, it was a blade for cutting linoleum. I got badly cut. I still have a scar somewhere there. Yeah, there it is. I have a scar on my thumb from a razor used for cutting linoleum. I mishandled it and bled quite a lot. But then you forget, right? It was such a long time ago. It seems such a long time ago. When I was a kid, I was quite shocked to see so much blood spurting out. But my superiors around me, they didn't take it to be a very big thing. They know no one cut on the thumb. It may look very bloody and horrible, but there's nothing serious. Nothing serious is there. You just get it bandaged up, and you can go on with life and hopefully learn something. So maybe I learned, but now then I forgot. I just remembered now, just at this moment, that I actually do have a scar from being cut by mishandling a blade. So that's the nature of Maya. We forget. We think we can get away with something. Ha ha ha. Think we can get away with mistreating Vaishnavas, or we think we can get away with not following the process of devotional service, or we can get away with not turning around. It's something like that question devotees sometimes ask, devotees or almost devotees, we could say. They ask questions to the extent, oh, what's the minimum I have to do to go back to Godhead? The very question means you're not ready to go back to Godhead. Because to go back to Godhead, we have to throw ourselves at Krishna, Atmanikshepa. Throw ourselves at Krishna, not say, well, how much can I hold back and still get Krishna? As my first GBC, Hansadutta Prabhu used to say, Krishna doesn't see how much you give, he sees how much you don't give, how much you hold back. Krishna is very cunning. Krishna can see better than us. So be careful. It's a good lesson. Materially, spiritually, be careful. We have to take a risk. Taking to spiritual life is a risk. It's a risk in as much as, well, Arjuna asked that question, what happens if you fully give yourself to spiritual life and you don't make it? You get hung up and then you die, and you're neither properly situated spiritually nor material. And then what does Krishna say? What is that? Partha naiveha nam Partha naiveha namutra. What is it? Naiveha namutra. Then nahi kalyana kaschid durgating tata gachati. What's the second line of that? He more or less said, don't worry, don't get in anxiety. There's nothing inauspicious for someone who tries to go on the right path. You found that? 6th chapter. It's a very good question of Arjuna. What happens if you try, you say, okay, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for the highest spiritual ideal. And you flop halfway, or you just don't make it. You don't make it up there. You have a very high ideal, but it's not so easy to get up there. And so you gave up your material prospects, and you didn't make it spiritually. Then, nahi kalyana krit kaschid. You didn't find it? Oh, you don't have it? Okay. You don't know it? Did you learn that 6th chapter? Can't remember it just now. That's very important. All the instructions in Bhagavad Gita are very important. You have your mini Gita here? You can get that. Just to jog our memories here. There's another thing, be careful. You should prepare the class properly before. Anyway, this is an ad-lib kind of class. It's not necessary that we all have to be perfect in everything. It's not possible. Partha naiveha namutra vinashas tasya vidyate nahi kalyana krit kaschid durgating tata gachati. What's this translation Srila Prabhupada gives? O son of Pritha, a transcendentalist. Here, give it to me, I'll read it. A transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. That's very interesting. The Srila Prabhupada puts in my friend there, which isn't actually in the Sanskrit, but he's just, it's a bhavart. Bhavart means he's giving the feeling as well as the exact translation, that he's reassuring as a friend. Oh, don't worry. I'm telling you as a friend. I'm not just telling you to make you feel good, but I'm assuring you, being the person who actually knows. Krishna is Yogeshwara. He knows everything about yoga. So this chapter, chapter 6, is a discussion about that mechanical yoga system. So be careful. Krishna is there to help us. There's no doubt. Otherwise, what are we going to do? We're not yogis. Even Arjuna couldn't do that kind of yoga. We're not that kind of yogi who can do very difficult yoga practices of staring at the tip of the nose and regulating the breaths, meditating, eating very little, living extremely austerely. We're not that kind of yogi. But we're confident of Krishna's help. But at the same time, Krishna himself warns to be careful. In Srimad Bhagavatam, we have the narration of Bharat Maharaj, who was so spiritually enthusiastic that despite having everything that a man could desire in this world, being the great emperor, powerful emperor, popular, everything, he just left it all for the sake of finding Krishna. But just circumstantially, he became attached to a deer, and then he didn't remember Krishna at the time of death. Of course, Krishna helped him, but still, the lesson is there, that he has to be careful. Don't divert our attention. There's the story of Ajamil. He wasn't deliberately looking for trouble. Trouble came to him. He wasn't deliberately trying to go off the path of dharma, but circumstantially he saw something that agitated his mind, and then his whole life went on a wreckage course. He really spoiled his human form of life, but then Krishna helped him ultimately. But then we shouldn't take it that, well, then I don't have to be careful. Krishna will help me. That example I often give, that you tell the boys, put on your seatbelt. They say, oh, well, right, we chanted Nrsimha prayers, so Nrsimha will look after us. We don't put on a seatbelt, we drive recklessly, and Nrsimha Dev is obliged to help us. No, that's there's some Jewish joke like that, something like that. God says, someone's asking God for help. Well, you have to just follow the basic instructions. You have to do your bit also. That's it, the lottery ticket, right? You know that? I told that the other day. That Shlomo is complaining to God. Shlomo is a typical Jewish name. That you see, my one friend won the lottery, and another friend won the lottery, but God, you didn't let me win the lottery. Why don't you let me win the lottery? And God says to Shlomo, okay, Shlomo, let's make a deal. We'll go halfway. I'll make you win the lottery, but first of all, you have to buy a ticket. So if you don't buy a ticket, you're not going to win the lottery. So in the same way, God has given us the path of Bhakti Yoga. He's given us all the rules and regulations we have to follow. We may think, rules and regulations, that's just for people who are, they're not the people who are really in love with Krishna. Because we see that people in love with Krishna, they may not follow the rules and regulations. But that's not for everyone. For someone who is very expert, they may appear to not follow the rules, say in ballet dancing or something. But they can only do that because they've done the practice, they've done the sadhana so carefully before. So it's a point to be careful, always be careful. Even materially, one may think, now I've come to such a big position, no one can pull me down. Pride comes before a fall. If one thinks, now I'm so very popular, I'm the head of this society, but that popularity can change. Shreya acharanam sada. One should always perform welfare activities for the benefit of others. A king may be very popular because he's sincerely trying to act for the benefit of his citizens. But then if he does something that he shouldn't do, if he becomes preoccupied with enjoying beautiful women, and even he may have done so many good things in the past, that will be remembered. But then if he starts to neglect his duties because he becomes overly prone to personal enjoyment, then the citizens will start to become discontent. So it's not that he can stop to follow the standard. He has to continue to follow the standard. So we should always be careful. If we're not careful, then disaster can strike at any time, because Maya is always ready to pull us. 1978 it must have been. There was a huge flood in Mayapur. Yeah, it must have been 1978, I believe it was. Yeah. Throughout West Bengal, huge floods, probably Bangladesh also, but I hadn't been there at that time. So I remember after that, Jayapataka Swami telling me a story from the floods, because he was out there. He first became very famous and very popular in the Mayapur area among the villages when he organized, because our building was quite high and it was the only, no, it wasn't the only pucca building, concrete, not a brick building in the area, but it was one of the few. It was quite high, so it was above the flood. So he organized cooking of khichdi in huge quantities and then going out by rowboat and delivering it to those villagers who were on high land but just pounded by the rains and shivering and no food. And he went out in all the area every day bringing khichdi, prasad, to all the people. So he went, and who else was there? Rasa Parayana was there. He was there. He was helping to coordinate all of that. He passed away now, Rasa Parayana. So yeah, he told this story in a class sometime after that. That there was a story of one man. He was in a tree just above the flood line, and the Ganga waters were swiftly flowing. So it could go up even more, but it didn't. So he was lucky. He was just holding onto a tree branch and shivering and starving, but he was alive. And just at a little distance on the same tree was a cobra twined around a branch, also taking shelter from the floods. Of course, the snakes can swim in the water, but they don't want to go in the flood water. They'll just get carried away. So eventually, after a few days, a boat came and to get that man, to rescue him from that situation. And all that time he had been sitting on the tree branch thinking that cobras are cobras. Any time, for no reason, he can just bite me and kill me. But so after a few days he thought, well, the cobra didn't bite me and kill me. It was quite nice. He must be my friend. So then he just, stupid thing to do, patted the cobra to say goodbye, and the cobra bit him and he died. Well, we're laughing. It's not such a nice thing. But the point is, be careful. Be careful. In the story of Jara Bharat, that comes in the Bharat Maharaj story also. in the fifth canto of Bhagavatam. After 2 lives, he became Jarabharat, and he instructed Rahugana Maharaj. What the essential teaching that I get from his teachings, the essential teaching. Well, there's that Rahuganaita tapasanayati. That's that we should. But the essential teaching that he tells in various ways to Rahugana Maharaj, including the whole description in 2 chapters about the forest of material enjoyment, the essential teaching is do not trust the mind. An intelligent person does not trust the mind. Do not trust the mind. So the mind that is not fully, spontaneously attracted to Krishna, then Maya will always have the chance to work in that mind and pull us away. In so many ways, we may be deviated from Krishna consciousness. I was just listening to a conversation with Srila Prabhupada. I heard it several times. Very interesting conversation, because it's the kind of thing that comes up time to time. That one disciple of Srila Prabhupada, Prithuputra Swami, at the time, he's also passed away now. He was saying in France, he was from France. He was saying in the temple there were 1 or 2, some devotees, they'd seen someone had appeared among them, and no one else could see them, but this person, it was like a mystic apparition. And this person told them that you should know that you're on the right path and you have the right guru. And this gave them great faith in Srila Prabhupada and Krishna consciousness, because some mystic being had informed them. And Prabhupada said, yeah, but you don't need a mystic being to tell you that. Of course, I'm paraphrasing all of this. That he said, and then also Prithuputra said, myself, when I was visiting Egypt and the pyramids, because he'd been in Egypt for preaching. It's a very interesting conversation. And he said, when I visited the pyramids, I felt the subtle presence. And Prabhupada said, don't trust all these subtle things. Why don't you come to the practical? Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Why bother with all these things when you have the practical thing? Just like so many times people tell me, well, I saw this in a dream and this and that. You don't need a dream. You've got Prabhupada's books. You've got the process of Krishna consciousness. That may be impressive to people who don't really have that much faith in the process of Krishna consciousness. They need some dream confirmation. Someone may say, well, did you ever see Krishna in a dream? But in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna never says, see me in a dream. He says, see me, rasoham apsu kaunteya, see me in the taste of water. Prabhashmi shashi suryayoho, see me in the light of the sun and the moon. This is how we should see Krishna. And we should see him as Purusha Puranam, see him through the eye of Shastra as the ancient Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should meditate on the Supreme Personality. Well, what is that? That comes after Antakale Chamameva Smaran Mukva Kalevaram. One should meditate on the person. What does Krishna say? How we should meditate upon him? Find that would be chapter 8, text 7. Did you find that? How should we meditate upon Krishna? Achintya Rupam. No. Then go on, the next one. No, what's that verse? It's a long, it's not the Anustup verse. Give it to me. Kavim Puranam Manushashitaram Aniyonayangsam Anusmaradya Sarvasya Taham. What is it? Tataram Achintya Rupam. Adityavarnang tamasah parastat. Adityavarnang tamasah parastat. That's from the Upanishad. Kaving Puranam Anushashitaram Anoraniyor Nyangsam Anusmaredya. This is how one should meditate upon him as the Kaving Puranam. That's echoes what Srila Prabhupada translates in the Ishopanishad as the primeval philosopher. Kaving Puranan Anushashitaram Anorani Samanusmared, as the smallest of all smallest things, Sarasya Dhataram, Achintya Rupam, Adityavarnam, as the colored like the sun, beyond darkness. What's the English translation? Do you have it there? This is how we should meditate on Krishna. Adityavarnanta. One should meditate upon Krishna as the Supreme Person, as the one who knows everything, as the controller, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smallest than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, and who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and being transcendental, he is beyond this material nature. So Srila Prabhupada is saying we should know Krishna from Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. And Srila Prabhupada at this point said one of the most significant things he said, and everything he said was very significant. He said that, as far as I am concerned, he said, I never had any such dreams or any such things. No. First, before he said this, he said that this kind of thing, dreams and apparitions, that may be very interesting to the neophytes. But he said the neophyte devotees are always in a dangerous position. Therefore, they should take this. Ar na koriho manayasha. I don't desire anything. Guru mukha padmavakya chitete koriya aika ar na koriho manayasha. I do not desire anything than to follow the orders of my spiritual master. And Srila Prabhupada said, if we follow this, we become strong. We become spiritually strong. When we become spiritually strong, we don't get misled by all these subtle things and this and apparitions and dreams and visions. It may be there, but it's not the essence of spiritual life. And we have to, even if you have some dream of this or that, you have to measure it against Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Otherwise you may see all kinds of nonsense things in a dream. So then Srila Prabhupada said that as far as I am concerned, I never had any such dream or any such thing. He said, I simply tried to follow the orders of my spiritual master. He said, Srila Prabhupada said, sometimes I wonder how this thing has happened to me among all my godbrothers. There were so many who had so much association with my spiritual master. They were so learned and austere compared to him. He was a householder. They were very austere, living as sannyasis. He said that when I look and I examine, Srila Prabhupada said, I see that among all of them, only I had complete faith in the words of my spiritual master. So it wasn't something that Srila Prabhupada rehearsed, but it just came out in the course of a conversation. Such important topic came out. And of course, Srila Prabhupada himself, he emphasized again and again and again, Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha deve tata guru tasyaite katita hyartha prakashante mahatmana. To a person who has full faith in God Himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in the Guru, to such a person, all the imports of Vedic knowledge are revealed. And that we also have in that Narottam Das's prayer to his Guru, Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito. By the mercy of the Guru, the spiritual knowledge is revealed within the heart. In other words, we can read the Shastra, but we may not understand it. That's a gift. It's not that we can. We can just study. Just like we have Bhakti Shastra, we have these courses and we can study and we can get marks, but the actual appearance, hriday prakashito, the appearance of that knowledge within our heart, the realization, that will be by the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So be careful. Always have to be careful. Therefore, there are so many rules to help us. Be careful. Sadhu savdhan. Be careful. You see in Bengal on the electricity pylons, it's written in Bengali, savdhan. In Hindi, I think they usually put Chetavani and then they have some little writing underneath it. But in Bengali, just savdhan. Just be careful. Dealing with how many volts? 40,000 volts in those high voltage cables. And how do the birds, they go on? They don't have any problem. But if we touch it, we'll be dead immediately. Maybe some ornithologist could tell us. But anyway, the point is, be careful. Dealing with the power that is more than we can handle. Someone who's very expert and trained, they can handle that electricity. They're trained how to handle it. But they don't, even they're trained, but it's not that even they're trained as an electrician, but they're not going to touch it directly. They know how to handle it means that still it's more powerful than them. That electric power. So in the same way, we're dealing with Krishna. Krishna is very powerful. He's also very kind. But we have to be careful. His kindness doesn't mean that he tolerates all kinds of nonsense. If we want to be not Krishna conscious, he arranges the material world. If we want to come out of the material world, we have to be very fixed on coming out of it. We have to be very careful in our prosecution of Krishna consciousness. At the same time, we know there'll be some mistakes. If we're preaching and we're practicing, there'll be some mistakes. Krishna may forgive, but we shouldn't take that forgiveness for granted. Be careful. Hare Krishna.